this week, the plan is for the next 52 minutes, something like that. We are going to hear about Helping Hands, which is the new big £500,000 project across Cumbria, all about getting volunteers into the arts and culture sector, perhaps volunteers we wouldn't normally cut through to. So Kate and Chris and Kit can talk about that. We're also going to hear about a fantastic project called Green Space, Dark Skies, which Jeanette's going to talk to us about as well. And we're going to watch a film about that very shortly. And also news of some training, if you're interested, if you're a freelancer, some training coming up in September, which you might want to stick into your diary, with a fantastic woman called Alison, who's written a book called The Freelancer's Bible that we've got hold of. And she's going to talk about that as well. So quite a lot to get through this morning. So that is the plan. And we will finish, of course, at 10:30. Right. But first of all, I'm going to show you a film, which is a little tease about the Green Space, Dark Skies project, which is going to come back to you in about half an hour or so. But I'm just going to share my screen and enjoy this. This just explains what that project is about.
Green Space, Dark Skies is all about land, our relationship to it, our responsibility to it, and our rights to it.
It's a way for people to experience the outdoor spaces that we need to keep in good stead and use some new technology to show them in a different, exciting new way.
As a participant, you come and you create this amazing mass participation artwork made of light within the landscape.
This has never been done before. The technology in these lights is the first of its kind, and it's been coined the holy grail of the lighting industry.
Events like Green Space, Dark Skies, they enable people who perhaps might not have visited a national park before to come and experience it in a completely different way.
Anyone with mobility or otherwise need can all get involved. There's no restrictions at all.
It's about making people more aware of what's on their doorstep, but it's also about trying to get a more diverse range of people out into the countryside.
This is like one of the best things I've ever done. So fun and interesting.
It's absolutely amazing. I'd recommend it to everyone.
This is a pivotal time in terms of our relationship to nature. This is everybody's chance to tell their story. This sends a message out. If you want to be part of that, then you can be part of Green Space, Dark Skies.
So that is coming our way to Scafell Pike later in the year, and we're going to hear from Jeanette a bit more about it later in the call. But first of all, do you see what I did there? I teased ahead. First of all, we're going to hear about Helping Hands, which is this big county-wide project which has been slowly getting off the ground over the last few weeks, and quite a few people involved in that, and quite a few institutions across the county involved in it as well. So I'm going to hand over to Kate and Chris and Kit to talk about it. I think Kate's going to start.
I am. Good morning, everybody. I'm just going to say a little bit about where this project has emerged from, and then I'm going to hand over to Chris Tully, who is our new project manager for the whole thing. So towards the end of last year, we were told that the DCMS was launching a £5 million pot of money funding for projects called Volunteering Futures, that would enable more people to benefit from volunteering, people who wouldn't normally or don't normally access those kinds of opportunities. So that was in my day job as the head of partnership for Cumbria Museum Consortium. It coincided with discussions that we were having across museums in Cumbria through what's called the Cumbria Museum Directors Group, about how we could diversify our teams of volunteers, which, brilliant though they are, and they are generally white, middle-aged, middle class. And although, you know, those people are exceedingly valuable and we love them very much, we're very aware that there are more people out there who would benefit from volunteering. And more importantly, our organisations and our cultural programmes become richer when we involve more people in the operation of our organisations. So it's something that was very much uppermost in our mind and in our discussions when this opportunity came along. But in rather typical fashion, the deadline was about 3 weeks down the track for expressions of interest. And we were running up to Christmas and everybody was all extremely busy. And when we put this to other people across the county, it was quite clear that other cultural organisations, theatres, museums, arts organisations just didn't have the capacity to turn it around in the timetable that we had. Everybody felt that it was a useful pot of money and that it was really important for us to try and access it, and wanted to, but there's no way we could have all separately down tools and made an application in a matter of weeks, because if anybody here has ever done that, an application of any size is a monumental effort. So acknowledging that there was a common need across cultural organisations in Cumbria, we decided at Cumbria Museum Consortium that we would take the lead on a partnership project, and we would apply on behalf of a whole range of cultural organisations across the county. So that's what we did. We put the expression of interest in just before Christmas, worked flat out for a couple of weeks, got in touch with lots of people, and there was really good response. And I think that gave us hope. People were really keen to be part of this. I think one of the first conversations I had was with you, Miriam, at the brewery, also with James at Theatre by the Lake, but lots of others, Deanne at Rose Hill Theatre, many other cultural organisations. But we set up a group of strategic partners to help us put this expression of interest in. So that came back as positive, and we were very hopeful that we had a good thing on our hands, and it felt like it had real strength and momentum. So we put in the final bid, again worked flat out through January, and I have to say Michael McGregor is one of the people with whom we wouldn't have got over the threshold with it, such were the circumstances. So we put in the bid in January. We were successful in March, and that was for £500,000, which, when you think about it, is 10% of the overall national pot that they gave to us in Cumbria. It was the second biggest grant nationally. So it was a huge, huge thing. One of those occasions where it's amazing when you get the good news, but then you think, oh my goodness, now we've got to deliver this. And that's what we're doing. We have £500,000 to spend across 2 years with a wide range of cultural organisations to attract 500 people into volunteering. And I'm going to hand over now to Chris Tolley, our recently appointed project manager, only started work earlier this month, who is going to talk you through what the project is actually all about and who's involved. Chris.
Thank you, Kate. Hello, everyone. Yes, my name's Chris, but I won't talk too much about me. I'll just go straight into a bit about the project. And if anyone's got any questions, please let me know. I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, Tom, we'll move on to the next. So a little bit about Helping Hands. So as Kate mentioned, it's a 2-year project, and it's got some specific aims, and it's designed to enable more people to volunteer in the culture sector. And largely it's more around diversifying volunteer workforces in the sector. It's funded through the department, it's funded by the Department of Digital, Culture, Media and Sport through the Volunteering Futures, which is a project delivered by Arts Council England. It's led by a consortium, so it's a partnership between Tully House, Lakeland Arts and Wordsworth Grasmere. And as Kate mentioned, there's lots of different partners as well, and we'll touch on a few of those as we go along. And it's structured in a way that harnesses county-wide partnerships, but also enables that we dig right deep into Cumbria's villages, towns and cities. So it's really, really county-wide. We want to get in all the nooks and crannies of Cumbria. Okay, Tom. So the 3 main aims of the project. So to improve individual and community well-being, from different roles I've been in, I've just moved from an organisation called People First, and that's all around inclusivity, growth, development. So it's all around supporting people to develop key skills, and also the difference that can make to communities as well. So that's very much part of my background. And to grow capacity and workforce diversity across the Cumbrian culture sector. So I can't say we because I wasn't here at that point, but when they were designing the project, there was identified 4 sort of key characteristics that would be the focus. So people of different ages, so it might be younger people, people from different backgrounds, and people from different social economic backgrounds. And it's to break down barriers to volunteering that exist across a large, complex rural county. You know, and again, I come with quite a bit of knowledge around that. I've done that role at People First full-time for a few years, and People First is a county-wide organisation, so you know I am aware of some of the challenges that we will encounter. Okay, Tom. So how will we achieve these aims? So we're going to form a team, and we've started putting some of the team together already. So a team of highly skilled and experienced staff, and this will include 5 inclusive volunteer leads who are out, which is an advert which is out at the minute. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. And their role is going to be to work within clusters, which we'll talk about, and to work with the different partners inside of those clusters to help identify what the needs are for volunteering, what the barriers are for volunteering, and to help engage expert organisations to help overcome some of them barriers as well. So by working with other parts of the team, not to forget. So I would be leading as manager with support from Kate and Kit, and we are bringing in someone to support the comms by producing a strategy, and someone to produce an evaluation strategy as well. So there's lots of different aspects as well. So we'll do it by working with a range of cultural organisations to identify and support the need to increase and diversify their volunteer workforce. And with the support of partners in the community, we'll develop interventions to overcome barriers. We'll talk about those in a little bit more detail as we go on. Okay, Tom? So, as Kate mentioned, it's a big co-produced piece of work. There's lots of different organisations, up to 45 organisations and partners working together across the 5 placed clusters. And they're sort of categorised into 3 different areas. So there's strategic partners. So they're, as Kate mentioned, people who've helped form the bid and the idea, and also will help drive it forward as well through the steering groups and ongoing conversations. So I couldn't list them all because there's 45 and I've only got 10 minutes. some of the organisations are Lakeland Arts, the Wordsworth Trust, Barrowful, Highlights Rural Touring, and Theatre by the Lake, but there are more. And cultural delivery partners. Cultural delivery partners are organisations who wanted to be involved in the project and really want to diversify their volunteer workforce. So they're organisations that we will work with to overcome barriers and to help recruit volunteers. And community diversity partners, I sort of see them as being experts in certain fields that are part of the organisation, part of the project, sorry. So we will work with them to help overcome some of the barriers. So some of them, for example, are Cumbria Youth Alliance and Inspirer, who work with younger people. So we might be able to call upon them to help overcome barriers in terms of recruiting young people. There's Anti-Racist Cumbria, Cumbria Deaf Association. So each have got a real skill and expertise in certain areas, and we will pull on that to help overcome barriers. And our inclusive volunteer leads will help pull all that together. Okay, Tom. So these are the clusters that we discussed. So Cumbria, so hypothetically, was split into 5, and that was to help ensure, largely based on geography, to ensure that every part of Cumbria would have a dedicated focus and have a dedicated person working on there. So each of those clusters will have dedicated inclusive volunteer leads. Inside of those, there are some strategic partners, and again, inside of those, there are some of the cultural delivery partners and community diversity partners as well. Next, Tom. And how to contact us. There's a wonderful selfie. I'm not good at selfies, but that's me anyway. And yeah, if there's any questions around anything in terms of the project, that's how to get in touch with me. I can put my details in the chat as well if that would be useful at all. And that's really the end of my whistle stop. I'm going to move on to Kate, and then we can take any questions if you like after that.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Okay, so we're currently recruiting for inclusive volunteer leads. There's the equivalent of 5 FTE roles, but we're recruiting very flexibly as this program is all about inclusivity. So the roles really are person-centered, looking to really match prospective volunteers with creative opportunities within these organisations, which can be galleries, museums, theatres, village halls and festivals. So we're looking far and wide and looking to match where the inclusive volunteer lead is based with the cluster that most aligns most closely with them. In terms of who the type of person we're looking for, really looking for people who can connect not only to the partner organisations, but to all the inclusive volunteer leads to make sure that we're providing the right routes for volunteers who, in terms of geography and opportunities, so that there's a connected lines of communication between all volunteer leads and also the organisations. We're looking for people who have great advocacy skills that can promote what we're doing and celebrate what we're doing. People who can go out and share the learning through conferences and events, and also provide that one-to-one support for individual volunteers. People who have a very sensitive approach to the fact that they're going into new organisations which are new to them, and rather than kind of stamping the project onto an organisation, people who can dovetail into existing systems. And processes, should we say long-term legacy. Sorry, Tom.
No, we just lost you for 5 seconds, but you've come back. That's fine.
So people who can broker those relationships and to contribute to this long-term legacy and build infrastructure. So there is learning and toolkits and connections which connect beyond the life of the project itself. So if you know people who are great communicators, great with people, really understand people's needs, and can also work collaboratively with organisations, and we really want to hear from them. The ways to apply are to send a CV and a covering letter to Tollyhouse, hr@tollyhouse.org by Monday, high noon, and state the kind of number of
She's gone again. There's a link in chat
hours that they're interested in.
Put in as well. We just lost you again for a second, Kit. That's lovely.
I'm so sorry.
No, we've got the gist of what you wanted to say, I think, unless I don't want to cut across you, but I think we know how to reply. There's a link in chat. Kate, did you just want to pick up as well?
Yeah. So those posts have been out there for a couple of weeks now, but they are coming to the point of closing date. So please do spread the word rapidly if you know anybody who might want to apply this weekend. Yeah, we're going to open the floor to questions in a moment, but Miriam, it's nice to see you. I just wondered, why did you want to be involved in the project, and what does it mean to the brewery and bring to the brewery?
Thanks, Kate. Volunteers have played a massive role in making the brewery what it is. We're celebrating our 50th year at the moment, and some of the volunteers that we've got have been here right from the start. So this project, I mean, it's going to be brilliant, I think, for Cumbria as a place that's it's got loads going on culturally, but we're all quite far apart physically from each other. So anything that joins the dots and connects the network is a great thing. But I think just the opportunity to really focus on the volunteering programs that are happening and new ones that might spring up, to develop them, to make sure that volunteers keep getting lots of benefit from them and that they connect with each other, learn from different organizations, learn how we're all doing things. At the brewery, we've got lots of absolutely amazing older people, and I think they've got loads to pass on to younger people. Our programs, lots of them are quite contemporary, and they're aimed at younger people, and we're building this younger audience, especially around our live music program and cinema. And we're just starting to see younger people wanting to come and volunteer, because they get to see a gig and they get to watch a film, and they also get to learn about working in an arts organisation and a venue. So I'm really excited to see that crossover of new, younger voices connecting with older people. And also I'm part of Anti-Racist Cumbria, and I'm really passionate about diversifying the makeup of who who is part of the team in a cultural organisation. So yes, it's all good. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be challenging because it's so big, but there's loads of opportunities there.
Thank you. It is certainly going to be challenging, and I think it's probably certainly the biggest thing that we have tried to deliver as a museum consortium across the county. But the willingness of other organisations to get on board and stay on board and participate has been really, really encouraging. Caroline Housley, can I put you on the spot and say why you wanted to be part of the sort of community diversity partners from Cumbria?
Well, because you're very forceful when you ask something, Kate. It's never an ask, is it? It's always a given. But volunteering for me, it's been such an important part of my life, and it helps communities build confidence. It helps individuals learn life skills, employment skills, and gives them a different perspective on the world, because we all become isolated in our own little world. And that's when I went and asked the deaf community whether they'd be happy. They said, we'd love to get involved, but we don't know who to ask, how to ask, or where to go for these volunteering opportunities. So it meshes all that together really nicely.
That's brilliant. And it's absolutely about building those connections in a way that we hope will be sustainable and last well beyond the life of the project.
Tim, did you want to jump in with a question there?
Yeah, I've had two very quick questions, if I may. The first is this limited to culture and arts, the volunteers? Because there's a whole big third sector out there that this, if it's wider than just arts, that would be brilliant. That's the first question. And the second question is, have connections already been made with the refugee communities? Ukrainians moving in here, there's a whole swathe of people who would benefit so enormously, and it would be through the Carlisle One World Centre, I think, would be probably the best approach. Are they involved? So that's the two questions.
The first question, I think we have to limit to culture and arts simply because it's big enough as it is, although I totally understand why the principles are important and could extend beyond. So maybe in time it will grow, but it's all we can do to cope with this at the moment. The other answer to your second question is that Carlisle One World, I'm not sure, although there's absolutely no reason why they couldn't be approached and join it. Certainly AWAS and Multicultural Cumbria are already part of it. But you know, we're absolutely keen to find the right partners and not limit it to you know, 45 is already a lot, but the scope for it to grow and be tailored. And you're absolutely right that the refugee population is really important. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions from anyone? Natalie.
I've just posed this question, but how, with relation to the volunteer leads, as it were, how long do you anticipate? I'm sorry, gathering a little bit of information. How long do you anticipate those volunteer leads working with that subgroup?
Kit.
It will be until it's a good long stretch. It's about a 20-month project now, from where we are. So in term, regularly there's the equivalent of 5 full-time posts across the whole of the project. We're hoping to, we're interviewing really soon. We're hoping that we'll have them in post as soon as possible. You know, potentially by mid-September, and to work and add capacity to all those organisations in the cluster, working. They each have a host base, but to be working out in different locations with different organisations across the life of the project.
Would you anticipate people rotating in and out? Is that something that this particular project would be open to? There is a reasoning behind my questioning, but I can't.
When you say in and out, please can you tell me what you mean by?
So, for example, within an 8-week period, using outcome measures to ascertain whether or not volunteers are achieving their aims and objectives individually as well, in addition to the project. So if they are building their skill sets, enhancing their well-being, whilst also contributing to the community, and therefore reaching their own outcome measures too. Is that
definitely? That's I mean, we'll be looking at different ways of volunteers, whether they're micro volunteering, digital volunteering, you know, or long term. So and then there's a monitoring and evaluation framework that is going to be established to look at you know, distance traveled as a person-centered journey, as well as program centered, to see what works really. So this is also very much part of a learning process, and developing that toolkit for organisations beyond the life of the project, with opportunities to share that learning, to see, because each cluster, each organisation has different needs, different agendas and different priorities. So it's no mean feat to juggle all of those, and we will be, as best as we can, trying to work out what works for individuals and processes, systems, structures and organisations.
Okay, thank you, Kit. Thank you, Natalie, for that question. Kate, last one from me. What are the measures of success? How will you know whether this project achieves its ambitions?
That's a tough one for a Friday morning. The measures of success will be how many people we bring into the cultural organisations to volunteer. So we're aiming for 500, which is obviously no mean feat. It will also be on the extent to which we equip organisations to be able to carry on recruiting and supporting people, because it takes time and it takes capacity. So it's about equipping the organisations to be able to carry on. What else? I think it's also about the number of organisations who benefit. I mean, it's a mixture of quantitative measures and softer measures, and that's why we have an evaluator role about to be advertised, in fact. So, you know, please look out for that. We're going to have a whole range of different ways of measuring the impact on the organisations, but more importantly, the way that it changes people's lives.
Okay. Well, thank you very much to the three of you for talking about it this morning. I've seen stuff, you know, on social media and elsewhere for a few weeks now, so it's really good to see it landing and these jobs being advertised. I know the deadline is very soon. I love its ambition. I love the fact it's county-wide. I love the fact it's joining up organisations as well as individuals. Volunteering has been a massive part of my life for many, many years, and it's terrific to see support going in and that ambition to recruit a more diverse selection of volunteers.
Can I just say one more thing, Tom?
Yeah, and then we'll move on.
It wouldn't have happened, I don't think, were it not for this network, because we were also all connected when the opportunity came along, and we had just a couple of weeks that the DCMS threw the pot open. Because we all were able to get in touch with each other and bring this together quickly, we were able to take that opportunity in a way that I don't think we would have been able to pre-pandemic. So that is a really positive thing.
That's great news. Thank you, Kate. Right, let's move on to Dark Skies. But before we do that, I just want to cross over to Amy, who is at Lakeland Arts, who's just got a bit of a request. Amy, I'm going to give you a minute for your request to help with a bit of peer reviewing. Off you go.
I'm pretty sure everyone who works with Arts Council funding is aware of Impact and Insights, and I'm looking for some peer reviewers for our summer family sessions. If anybody's, I'm going to drop a whole thing in the chat with loads of links, and if you're interested in being a peer reviewer or bringing your family to our sessions, there's some free tickets available, and yeah, all the info will be in the chat. Is that quick enough?
That's very impressive. And this is, what's the time scale for this one, Amy?
Well, the first session is for next week. We've got the Knotted Project delivering some drama and theatre workshops next week. So it's over the next 6 weeks, over the summer holidays. There's lots of sessions available, but all the info will be in the chat right now.
Excellent. Amy, thank you very much indeed. Oh, here's one you prepared earlier.
It is.
Have a look at that when you get a second. And in touch with Amy, there's a nice email address at the end of it as well if you want to help Lakeland Arts peer review some of their fantastic projects they are involved in. Thank you, Amy. Right, let's go to a bit more back to Green Space, Dark Skies. I'm going to ask Jeanette just to introduce this topic. We've got another little bit of film to watch, and then Jeanette can explain a bit more. So Jeanette, who's got a finger in many arts and cultural pies across Cumbria and probably beyond as well. Over to you. You just come off mute there, Jeanette.
As a lot of my projects do, it starts off with a phone call asking me if I can get involved and get everyone else involved. So the answer is yes, because when I looked at this, I just thought it's brilliant. You know, anything that's got to do with art at this dramatic scale in the countryside and the landscapes, I'm up for every time. So this is a project that's been going on since April all over the country in national parks and areas of outstanding natural beauty. So it's got legs already, and it's started to get its following. Its aim is to have about 20,000 people having taken part, and they're well onto that. They have no trouble with sort of attracting numbers to it, but they really want the right community. When this project comes to a place, they want the place and the community to engage with this. It's not about necessarily just attracting tourists to the area. We have plenty of tourists. We love them, and we love them to take part in culture, but this is about community and community taking part. So this film that I'm going to show you, this is one of many. Some of these events have taken place on beaches and on moorland. It will be completely different when we go up Scafell, obviously. So this isn't just going to be replicated, but it was one film that I thought just captured the whole feeling of them. All the films are on their website. There'll be details about that later. And then after you've watched the film, I'll come back and I'll tell you not just about how you can get involved, but how you can get your groups and your communities involved.
The story goes that Jack and his friends danced here on a Monday, and they danced at night. And they kept the devil up with the sound of their feet. They danced on a Tuesday, a Wednesday and a Thursday, and all the time the devil didn't sleep. They danced on a Friday and a Saturday, The devil he shook. They danced on a Sunday, and he turned them to stone with one hard look. And in stone they remain, with their backs to the sea. If you listen, you can hear their voices in the scree.
Okay. Jeanette, come off mute again.
Terrible at this. Yeah, so that was a unique event. Up to now, every event has been unique and they've been taking part for months. The idea now is that the finale of this whole project is going to be 4 events. Each one will be taking part on the highest mountains across the UK. So we're fortunate enough to have one of those on our doorstep in England. And then we've got Ben Nevis, Slieve in Northern Ireland, and there'll be Snowdon in Wales. So we are wanting to take 400 minimum people up Scafell, and I have to say this is with the permission of the Lake District National Park, the National Trust. Absolutely everybody's on board with this. It's a project that is incredibly well organised and well funded. So there's nothing dangerous. We have a full team of mountain professionals and mountain guides. I'm just going to very, very briefly tell you about the way the day pans out, because it is quite a commitment. We start at 12 noon at registration at Wasdale Head, and you have to sign up. You can't just come and have a look, you've got to take part. So we start at 12 o'clock and you sign up, and there's everything's sort of free. It's free parking, there's free camping if you want to come and make a night of it. And then after registration, everybody's split into groups of about 30 or 40. You get what we call the Geo Light, and this is a light, very low impact light that's been developed by Siemens. So everyone gets their light and they'll learn about their light, and they'll get an earpiece so that they can hear the art director all the time throughout. And then we have a rehearsal on the flat at Wasdale Head. And there is a story that we're going to be telling. and I won't spoil that, but that story will unfold to the people who are taking part. And that is a similar story that is going to be taken to each of the highest mountains, so that when we go up, and it's we're going up from Wasdale up to the actual performance area isn't at the top of Scafell, because by this time it'll be dusk and a little bit dangerous. So we're actually doing the performance at Lingmel. So anybody's familiar, it's a sort of a flatter area. And the performance will happen. So the earpiece will remind people what they're doing. We've got drones and we've got full camera crews up there. Each performance is filmed and it's being put together for a 1-hour TV programme going out in the autumn with Country File. So anyone taking part, by taking part, is agreeing to be filmed. So we do that performance in what we call the golden hour. That's when these lights are at their best. It's not dark, it's dusk. That is captured, and then everybody is brought safely down the mountain, head torches. So that in itself is a procession down the mountain to get back down to Wasdale Head for about 10:30 in the evening. So it's quite a commitment. But anyone can sign up. It's there on the website, you can sign up. But what I'm really interested in is to get people to take this story to their groups. So if you work with any community groups, the website, you can sign up to 10 people. And that's easy done. But if you've got a group of more, or even if you just got a group of 10 and they're a known community group or a social group, contact me directly and I'll save you a lot of paperwork, and I can cut through and get everything that you need, because there is a bit of paperwork involved. So that's what I'm really asking you to do. I'm not just wanting individuals to sign up, though you're more than welcome. And you're more than welcome to bring family and friends. 14 is the youngest, and no dogs, please. But it's really about taking this into your communities and getting some people together. I've got some groups already, which is excellent. I've got a trekking for therapy group. I've got the way forward. So there are people who see walking and the landscape as useful to what they're actually to achieve. So that's kind of it in a nutshell about what this is. The story behind it in the first film that you saw, it really is about getting people, two groups of people, I think. If I was talking about the community groups, it's people who just would never even think about doing something like this. But with our help and your help, we can make them feel comfortable about coming and taking part and having a really, really good experience. I went up Scafell for the first time in about 7 years the other week. And just having that group and that mountain guide, I think we had a mountain guide with us on that day, it just makes the whole experience so much better. And then the other group is the people who get the art thing in the landscape, but haven't donned a pair of walking boots. And as long as you're truly, truly fit and you know you can do it, because we don't want any accidents, we don't want any drama. But to get out and do something a little bit of a challenge and a bit dramatic, maybe tick a bucket list. I think that this is something for those people as well. So if you can help me get the word out, because the last thing I would want is for this to happen and people to say, I wish I had the chance to have done that. So I'm not the marketing team on this occasion. That's what the hat I normally wear. There is a marketing team behind this as part of the whole project. My job is really to say that we did our very, very best to make Cumbria know this was happening.
Excellent, Jeanette. Thank you. Well, by talking to us this morning, you've helped to do that. The links are in chat. Green Space, Dark Skies, the website there. Emmy's put that there. Thank you, Jeanette, for that. And let's hope that it's a huge success and that the weather is kind and all that sort of stuff happens in the right way. So thank you very much indeed, and good luck with that as a project. I'm just conscious of time. So Ian Reed has just put a whole load of interesting stuff into chat. Ian, I'm not sure, is Reed your surname? Is yours come up? No. So Ian has just put a load of stuff into chat. Ian, I'm gonna give you 90 seconds. If you want to just talk about 1 or 2 or 3 of the things you put in there, go for it.
Strangely enough, Reed was my mother's maiden name, so I don't know where
don't know where that came from.
Yeah, sorry, I've put a couple of essays into chat. Basically, I've got a slightly unexpected opportunity at the end of August to work on some ideas, thanks to Theatre by the Lake, or as the subtitling calls them, Here by the Lake. So I don't know if anybody noticed that earlier, but somebody mentioned Theatre by the Lake earlier and it came up as Here by the Lake. I thought rather than sit in a room by myself and kind of scribble away, it might be nice to work with some other people. So basically it's an ask that if anybody knows anyone else who might be interested in some of the things I've noted in the chat, so it might be worth copying the chat if you think you know somebody and showing them to get in touch and see what's what. I've got no funding at this stage because all the ideas are kind of fairly early stage. So you know, but I'd be happy to work alongside somebody to look at funding any of those projects, or indeed others that are floating around my head. So yeah, it's just an appeal to say if anybody's interested, give me a shout.
Excellent, thank you, Ian, and I hope this is a good platform and network in which to have those sorts of conversations and asks. Thank you very much indeed, and thanks to Jeanette for putting all the information about green space, dark skies into chat as well. Right, before we come to a conclusion, I want to look ahead to September, and Chris Bridgman, who interesting put in chat that he'd been in part of one of those green space, dark skies projects in the Peak District earlier, so that's exciting. He could tell you all about that. But Chris, you're doing some work for the network, and there's some training and a survey coming up, isn't there? If you'd like to tell us about those.
Yes, absolutely. You may have noticed in this week's newsletter, we've got a wee survey to find out what people want and need in terms of training and development and mentoring, which is very much an area that the network is looking to develop. As a concrete start to all this, as Tom mentioned at the beginning, we have the amazing Alison Grade, who's the author of the Freelance Bible. And she is going to do a series of sessions entitled Fast Track to Sustainable Freelancing. So if you are working as a freelance, or perhaps if you are thinking about working as a freelance, if your permanent or regular employment is either not satisfying you or might be coming to an end for one reason or another, this would be a way to start exploring how to practically develop and sustain your skills as a career. She's very good on getting people to really look at what they themselves have to offer, because obviously it's quite difficult. We're inside ourselves, and one of the main things she does is get you to look at yourself as a business prospect, if you like, and what you are selling and what you've got to offer people. So that will be available in the autumn, and she's going to be doing a taster session completely free to anybody to come along and get an idea about what she's going to be doing, and that's on the early evening of Wednesday, the 7th of September. So when you come down from the top of Scafell, take a couple of days to recover, and then you can bob on for half an hour online on Wednesday, the 7th of September. But please do complete the survey. Please pass that on to other people, whether they are freelancers or members of an organization, running organizations. We want to discover what the training and development needs are across the county at all levels and in all contexts. So please get on there. It'll take you about 5 minutes to complete the survey, and then we can collate the results and find out where the strongest areas of need are. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Right, Kate, you are our chair. Thoughts about a session in September, and also when we come back for the calls as well.
Yeah, so we're taking a month off, which is a joy. I'm going to sleep in every Friday now until September. But I hope everybody has a really lovely summer. When we come back, it's on the 2nd of September. That will be the first date back. Please put that in your diary. Also, on the 16th of September, which is a fortnight after that, on Friday, we will be all going to Rose Hill for the day. Please do join us for the next quarterly meeting. We'll be at Rose Hill Theatre with Deanne and Dan, and it is a second part of our exploration of inclusivity and relevance, and how we can do better as a county and as a sector to involve and cater for all communities across Cumbria. So please do join us. We're hoping to have somebody from the Arts Council to lead that, but we have a range of excellent contributors already lining up. It's free. We will offer, we are offering reimbursement of travel expenses if you're a freelancer. So if you're not employed by an organisation and it's tricky for you to get there because of the cost, get in touch. We will provide details as to how to do that. if you're not able to make it there on the day, we will also be putting that online and streaming it. So there are a number of ways in which to access it in the spirit of inclusivity. So that's Friday, the 16th of September, and we really look forward to being able to see you in person and having a free lunch, because there is such a thing. Okay, Tom.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kate. Looking forward to that. Should be good to see everybody face to face as well, and see who's tall, who's short. 3 dimensions is always better than 2 in my experience. A final thing for me is the podcast is live. If you haven't heard the last one, I thought it was all right. And the next one is going to come out starting next week. Lots of interesting stuff there. The point of the podcast is to cut through to people that perhaps can't get to Friday mornings, maybe cut through to a different segment of the population as well. You know, I think there's been a lot of talk this morning about trying to diversify knowledge, awareness, participation in the arts and culture in Cumbria, either through volunteering or through getting up Scafell Pike with a lamp. And I think hopefully the podcast might cut through to different people as well. So there is a link to the podcast, which Amy's just put in there. If you fancy having listened to that, it's about 25 minutes long, I think. Next one's going to be about the same, and hopefully it's of interest. I'm all ears for people that have got ideas. Chris Dennett makes an appearance in this next podcast in a sensational fashion, and his dog does as well. So it's worth listening out just for that. He is a creative genius, and his contribution is creative geniusness for this month. Lovely to see you all. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Have a great August. We'll catch you again on September the 2nd on a Friday morning. Look out for the podcast. Look out for the social media comms throughout August. And I hope the weather is kind and that life is kind to you as well. Enjoy those cherries, those people that enjoy cherries. Thanks all. Cheerio.